You're listening to the Digital Deep Dive, where we tackle the newest trends, strategies, and pain points shaping growth across the digital landscape. From Amazon and D2C to international expansion, join our host and e-commerce leaders across multiple industries for in-depth discussions on how to maximize your brands in the digital arena. Now, here's your host, Aaron Conant.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Digital Deep Dive podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Conant, and today we've got an old friend back again, Danny Silverman. Just awesome person, friend of the network, lots of people in it. Just been friends for a while now, and we were catching up on a variety of stuff, things that he's working on, things that are top of mind to him, and we just got into this cool conversation around content and SEO and AEO and all this other stuff, GEO. And just decided, hey, why don't we just hit record on a podcast and get this one in before we get 20 minutes into the conversation and we wish we'd hit record. So anyways, before I get that, Danny, you want to jump in, intro yourself, what you're up to now, this cool stuff that's going on that you see, and then we'll just kind of take the conversation from there. Sound good?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me. Things have changed a bit since last we spoke. So I'm now EVP at MPG Market Performance Group over the digital commerce team. Leading Amazon omnichannel, as well as some of our supporting e-commerce capabilities. That's a super exciting company offering end-to-end solutions from brick and mortar all the way through to the top of the digital funnel. So that's what I'm working on now and starting to get to know our clients and having a lot of the same conversations we're about to have, which comes back to, the fundamentals of e-commerce with so much changing. What really matters right now? Where should people be focused, especially when we start talking to people at more senior executive levels who are maybe not in the weeds day to day, but are like, I hear agentic and I hear AI and I hear AEO and GE. Like, what does all of this mean? And, where should I be focused right now?
Yeah, that is huge, right? I think, so I do want to get into all of that, but a lot of it is just explaining to executive teams what they should be expecting, because there's a couple of things at play here. There's a ton of things at play, but a couple of things that I'm hearing all the time is brands are being pushed AI, and those are the executive teams pushing it down from everybody except for the CIO, right? The CTO, the CSO, whoever it is looking at IT and looking at how many of these new AI tools are being plugged in the network, and they're like, Stop plugging things in, right? Those are all security issues, and they're trying to figure out how to deal with that. And so what we have is this conversation that brands need to have. They're trying to learn as fast as they can. What do I need to have in place for agentic to work? How do I show up in AEO? How do I explain what GEO is? How do I do all of these different things, learn them, and explain them to an executive team, and then explain the potential risks so I can push through whatever I need to get pushed through, or wait for security issues to be, I guess, resolved with this new tech that's popping up. And it's at the same time we're in Q4 and they're trying to plan for next year. They're trying to wrap up, Turkey 5 or Turkey 12 or Turkey 25, whatever it is now, and wrap up the end of the year. By the way, they still have, the rest of their own personal holiday shopping and everything going on.
Yeah.
So I know that was a bunch to kind of throw at you, but what advice do you have for how people should address that with their executive teams and the things that they should be highlighting?
Yeah. I think it's always helpful to go back to basics, especially if you're talking to the C-suite or a board who are not as e-commerce savvy. I've been full-time e-commerce since 2010. I've been working with Amazon since 2006. And there are a few fundamentals that absolutely have not changed. And that is, there's how do you drive sales? It's traffic times conversion. There's lots of different formulas out there and in stock and price and, AOV and all these other things. But at the end of the day, you got to find a way to drive traffic to your listings, and you have to make sure that your listings are optimized to drive conversion. Everything from there is just variations on a theme. And yes, technology has changed, and we need to understand how technology is working today. But if you're trying to explain it at the most basic levels, I would always start with traffic times conversion. And from there, you can start getting into things like having the right product assortment, having the product available, and having the content that sells it. And then your ad strategy and execution that promotes and drives people to those pages. Fast forward to today, if I then had to simplify what's happening right now on the advertising side, it's all about automation in full funnel advertising, or at least the promise that Amazon is selling and sold at Unbox. And on the other side, it's the impact of AI, both agentic commerce and how to optimize for it, as well as what it means to your own jobs and how to do your job day to day. There's always two sides to AI, the kind of the consumer or customer facing side of it, and then the internal facing side of it of how to be more efficient with my time. And what I'm saying on the ad side is, I think everybody came away from Unbox intrigued and excited, but also skeptical. So Amazon was talking about how ultimately agents and AI are going to automate the full advertising funnel and make everything more accessible and democratized. And that's wonderful and that's great. And it's a great aspiration to get towards. I think the caution is always that Amazon will build for Amazon, and they'll build through their lens and through what they understand. And you cannot replace the human understanding of your own brand and what drives it and what your own brand priorities are. And there is a level of human interaction that is required, strategic thinking and understanding, to be able to use those tools more effectively. So use it cautiously, but keep in mind that anything Amazon brings you is through the Amazon lens. Nonetheless, incredibly exciting. And then the simple way that I explain the AI side is we're moving from a keyword world to a contextual world. So before, everything in search and advertising was keyword driven, and there were, the God keywords in every category that everybody fought over. And what's shifting is more this contextual content, which is not the keywords that help people find your products, but the information they want to know about it. Who's this product for? How do I use it? What's the experience like when I use it? And that materializes in your A+ content, in your FAQs, and of course, off Amazon and across your digital assets and across your digital funnel. That's kind of like the two kind of big themes that I talk about when I'm meeting with executives and kind of trying to simplify it so they can have a message to take to their board.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things strings I want to pull there. One is, yeah, Amazon is building for Amazon 100%, right? And they're going to optimize it for their overall profitability as a whole. And one of those things that I run into, and I see a lot, is these AI tools that I come across, and you just get connected with them from brands quite a bit now, is they're fantastic with that use case. So they've partnered with a brand, and they've partnered with that brand, and they've worked with them for 6 to 9 months on the integration and dialing everything. And we'll say, getting it to kick out ad copy or getting it to kick out imagery or video. And it works amazing. And they'll go into a brand, and then the next brand sees it. They love it. And when they go to work, that AI tool breaks down. And it breaks down because they've trained it over 6 to 9 months. And AI is really, I think, easy to train, difficult to untrain and retrain. And so what's happening is they have their information in a different PIM, a different DAM, a different CRM, a different CDP, a different, ERP, whatever it is. And those AI tools break down. And I see that happening in the interim with Amazon, is kind of how you're saying it. They're designing it for them. They're having use cases. And at some point in time, if you don't have that human in the loop, it's just going to take off and do whatever it wants to do that will maximize it for Amazon at the end of the day. But that plays into a lot of the tools that I'm seeing right now. And it's part of the reason there hasn't been a massive adoption on that side that I've seen. There's the big tech, right? Like ad tech, like a PackView or Xnerta, or even what Spencer's doing. That's different than actually plugging into your system and helping you generate your own content. But I've seen that there's not been a massive adoption there internally, because every single company has their data in a different spot and in a different format, and it just kind of breaks down at that point in time.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing of it is too is that I saw a really interesting post. I wish I had bookmarked it because I don't remember who pointed it out. But anybody who's saying I've cracked AI and I know how to do contextual commerce and make your brand show up, there's just no way, because AI is so customized and so specific to you and your usage and your prior history that it's almost impossible to be truly fully AI optimized the way we got it to almost a science, but still art in the world of SEO. And you're right also about sort of that drift. Like I always like to point out to people, I'm not putting my head in the sand. I'm not saying AI won't get there. But if OpenAI still can't get rid of the telltale M dash, no matter how hard they try, and I had one show up today in one of my ChatGPT responses after Sam announced a week or two ago that they figured out how to get it out. You can't tell me that these solutions are like truly ready for prime time and can be relied on every single time to give you what you want. Anybody who's done has any sort of vibed with ChatGPT or any of the AI tools knows that after a few prompts deep, you've got to start over because it just starts degrading more and more and more. So the tools are awesome. The productivity tools are fantastic, but you have to have that human in the loop. And I don't see how that's ever going to change. There's some element that will always require human ingenuity and human ability to kind of bring messy facts together in a way that you just can't replicate with a machine consistently.
Oh, for sure. I'm right there with you. And I'm right there with you on that M dash. It's the most irritating thing in every newsletter that I put out. It slides it in there, and you can ask it a million times every day, and it will say, "Sure, I will never do it again," and then it does. But what's interesting as well is going back to where you're talking about where I think the new era of search, and I think there's two parts of it. And I think ChatGPT fundamentally changed that. Maybe you can say Perplexity too, is you think about how we used to search, which is just kind of pecking based on keywords, right? Mm-hmm. And now it's fundamentally changed. ChatGPT has fundamentally changed how I search now, not only within there and asking questions, but how I search on Amazon and using Rufus, and how I search on Google now, which is more of a question base. Like, I give it way more information. I am looking for, my 17-year-old loves to play basketball and golf. Do you have any top recommendations for Christmas gifts for him, essentially?
Yep.
As opposed to top golf gifts, 17-year-old, teenager, or whatever it might be.
Exactly.
But that plays into what you were saying, which is, when you say back to the basics, I always think content. And now we have to fundamentally go back and relook at our content and what we're doing with it, right? Because it's not, like you were saying, keyword. It is that contextual piece, which is like pulling on Q&A, pulling on ratings and reviews, trying to figure out to answer those questions for you and deliver then search results.
Yeah, exactly. And if your content was in the keyword stuffing game, I think you were already behind the times. If your content was always designed and intended to be high quality, consumer engaging, you might find that your PDP content doesn't actually have to change that much. It does need to be restructured, and it does need to have kind of AEO, GEO awareness. And there are, like we were just saying, like with Spencer, there's some great tools with Detail Page. There's some great tools out there to help with that. But it's not like a complete panic, burn everything down and start over. We've got to rewrite it. It's just bringing forward that more consumer natural language, contextual content, and doing less of the keyword stuffing stuff that never really made sense anyway.
Well, Google 2006, it was a great idea, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, if you look at now, you see Sam Altman put out the code red for ChatGPT because of all of a sudden their gains on Google started to slow down a little bit, and Google started ramping it up. And I've been actually impressed with Google, and I've changed how I actually search on it. But the biggest shocker for me was using Rufus, because I tried Rufus a while ago and it was a disaster. The improvements that Amazon has made on that is phenomenal in my mind. And I can't remember, because we did one of these with Spencer. I can't remember if he was saying it was over 20% of people searches are now using Rufus. It's some huge number.
40%.
What's that?
It got up to 40% over Black Friday, Cyber Monday, according to some new data that's available. Yeah. And it's true. It's gotten so much better. And I want to just be really clear. I am as bullish as anyone on where AI is going, and I'm as bullish as anyone on Amazon and Rufus. I've had very mixed experiences with it. There are some cases where it's absolutely brilliant, and there's some where it's fairly useless. It comes back to the depth of content. I think in categories where there's a lot of ASINs, there's a lot of high quality brands, there's a lot more for Rufus to base off of. I think if you're in more longer tail categories, it gets less and less effective. So it's just important, as with anything, to just know where those limitations are, so you're not like kind of over dependent and getting bad information, if you will.
So
Yeah.
in your role now, like as you're advising brands, what's the number one thing if we want to isolate it to Amazon, because it is just the biggest player? I think Walmart, I'm pretty impressed with them, but they haven't caught up yet. From the Amazon standpoint, what's the number one thing that's coming up with you with brands right now, or recommendations that you have for people as we head into 2026?
I mean, it sounds boring, but it's all about the fundamentals. There's a really increased importance on looking carefully at your assortment. And it seems to be dominating more of my conversations than almost any other topic, where historically conventional wisdom was throw everything on Amazon and just sell what sticks. Whereas there's so much more scrutiny on profitability, and a lot of it's driven by the macro environment, macroeconomics, tariffs, and so on, that having that long tail of items could actually be hurting your margin to the point where it's killing your total business. And so being more strategically focused on fewer items is arguably the better path forward. I've analyzed businesses where a client was peanut buttering their spend across, call it 80 ASINs, against a competitor that was focused on one or two and couldn't figure out why they weren't winning. The algorithm loves the focus and that specific focus on fewer items, because you're putting more spend into it. You're more consistently there. You're more consistently in the auction. And so understanding that about the algorithm, at the end of the day, I've been saying this since like my whole career, but Amazon is still one item at a time. It's based on a catalog model like Sears from 1980, one page at a time. And you got to kind of still be thinking about each item on its own. So understanding that assortment, what items are making you the right margin and driving the right priorities for your business, and focusing, almost, like without distraction on those fewer ASINs.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the macroeconomic. Like I've seen on the tariff side, Amazon not taking price increases for a lot of people on the tariff side. And in the cases where they start to entertain it, and there's some brands obviously that are big enough they can just push it through. But for a lot of people, Amazon's coming back with a guaranteed margin. Basically trade-off is we'll give you a price increase, but give us a guaranteed margin. Mm-hmm. And I've always been leery of giving Amazon a guaranteed margin, just because they use it uniquely, right? Is they're doing it on an item by item basis. So they could really, really win on one, lose a little on the other, and they'll take all the cash from the one, but then they'll come to you to make up the margin on the single item. Yeah. I mean, that has more people than ever going the third party route. Yeah. Right? And I think that's part of the reason I think it was a perfect time for Pattern to go public. If they were going to go, now's the time, because there's this massive push to the third party side. Some people can do it on their own. Some people have to use, a strategic third party reseller. But I think it's a very, very interesting time right now. And I don't know if you have any thoughts, like as I play it out in my head. I mean, Amazon for a long time, if you look at it, they're making enough money on AWS. They're making tons of money on advertising. The vendor model where they're holding inventory and they're responsible for it makes sense for certain categories. But for others, why not take the pure profit of just your marketplace cut? If you ever need more storage space, you don't own it. You can push it back out of your fulfillment centers, reclaim it during holiday season for whatever items you want. I don't know if you see it like the same way, but yeah, it seems like there might be a push for brands to go third party, and Amazon's okay with it. I mean, I've got $80-90 million brands that Amazon is like, go ahead, go third party, which is, I don't think would have happened a few years ago.
No, it's definitely true. Going back to your earlier point first on the guaranteed margin, for anyone who might not have tracked with that, point being, like, they're going to Amazon and saying, we're raising our price to you, and Amazon saying that's fine, but I want guaranteed margin. But what they won't do, of course, is guarantee where the ASP, where the buy box price will go, because they're price matching the lowest price in the market. So why that's killing brands who agree to it is they have to guarantee that margin, even if Amazon's algo drops that price 20%. And that means that that price drop just got shifted from Amazon's pocket to the vendor's pocket. And we shouldn't, shifting to 3P, shouldn't think that 3P aren't impacted by Amazon's pricing as well. If there's a lower price in the market, they'll just suppress your buy box. And it's the craziest thing, but it's obvious, it's very common. If your product is, they find, it says it right there, we found a product at a lower price and therefore we're not showing you a price for this product. So even if you're 3P, you still don't have full control. You still have to be showing the lowest price in the market or you'll end up buy box suppressed. I would agree that there's many businesses out there that will do better 3P. It really depends on their own economics and their 3PL logistics and costs. I do have clients who've looked at the analysis and 1P is far more profitable for them just because Amazon's picking up the shipping costs and not 100% passing it through based on how their co-op agreements are structured. So there are cases where going 3P ends up being less profitable because there's higher costs, but what you're trading off is more control over, the entire customer relationship, the entire flow of product, and to your point, even the control of where your product rests and bringing it back if you need to, so on and so forth. So there are still businesses out there where 1P will always make sense. And there's businesses out there that Amazon won't give up. I know of brands that are shockingly small that Amazon is fighting to keep on 1P because they play a unique role in how the shopper interacts with the category and how it builds basket. It's very uncommon, but there are some that are critical to the category that Amazon will fight to keep. But it really depends on every business. I don't think the whole thing goes 3P. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think it does. I think it's just the whole thing. No, I agree with you, especially if you've got, fast moving consumer goods and CPG segment, like a toothpaste or something like that, right? Like have it on hand, make sure you can ship it. But I've just been shocked over the past, I don't know, I'm not quite a year, but maybe 9 months, how many brands have moved from Vendor Central to Seller Central and the size of the brands and how Amazon has pretty much been okay with it.
I always just tell brands, just get it in writing. Like if you have a conversation proactively, don't try and hide, don't try and do the sneaky hybrid thing. They're finding it out more and more. It makes life very difficult. I've seen clients who did the 2P model and used somebody else to sell it, and Amazon found it within 6 months and shut down 2 years of work. If you're going to be upfront with Amazon and Amazon's good with it, just get it in writing, because when you go over to the 3P side, inevitably there's going to be blockers and issues and challenges, and you're going to need the documentation that you have the permission to make that switch.
Yeah, I mean, I think the amount of warehousing space. I should have Corey from Da Vinci Micro Fulfillment back on. We should chat about that, because when you're going that route, having the ability, if you do get squeezed out of FBA, which does happen to brands during the holiday season, if you're not really a giftable or fast moving item, having somebody that can do same day, 1 day, 2 day, seller fulfilled prime shipping capabilities across the US becomes now essential, because you want the prime badge at the end of the day. And so
even if they do give you warehouse space, if you have a banner year, you can't get inventory in time. I mean, we are at a critical point in the season right now where if you run out of inventory, there really isn't enough time to push more into Amazon. You might get it, but if they start getting backed up like they have in prior years, and I have some super giftable clients, they'll do the majority of their business for the year in the next 2 weeks. And it's all about having enough inventory in there, because we know we try and ship in it like we did. We actually tried to ship more in. We got about 30% of what we wanted to send in approved, and the rest of it got blocked. So that micro fulfillment option is key. Yeah. I think that's a great.
Yeah. I think that might be the next one. Probably when we wrap this conversation up, I'm going to give Corey a call, because it might be too late for this year for sure, but I want to have him walk through significantly what's changed over the past years and the impact of the past year and the impact it's had on brands as a whole. Because I have right now, brands are flat year over year. They're feeling really good. We just did a webinar yesterday with Udayan over at NetElixir, kind of recapping what happened over Cyber 5. And there was a significant amount of uptick in orders, but it came with drastic discounting. So there's actually growth, which is great year over year. But the discounts were quite deep. And a lot of that, I think, is people trying to move inventory because they don't know. As the old non-tariffed inventory, if you have it, is now gone, tariffed inventory is hitting. Prices have to go up at the store level. It's just not going to move as fast. It's just not going to move as fast. So how can they relieve that inventory, get the cash in so they can then readjust everything for next year and forecast and then put those down payments in. So
yeah, I'll be the annoying marketing guy who has to point out and state the obvious that it points to increased necessity to try and get away from the promotional cycles. And that happens if you have a differentiated product. So you love to say that and wave a magic wand and say, yes, my product is differentiated. And so many brands out there are not enough. But the truth is, if you're truly differentiated and have a strong value prop and your content is strong and your reviews are strong, you can be a little bit more resistant to needing to price promote in order to move inventory. I know it's the annoying thing, but it's just got to point it out.
Yeah. Everybody wants a differentiated product, right? It is also funny that I'm talking to the brands that they're trying these different marketing techniques. One of the cool things for these AI tools that are popping up is to help identify who your actual target demographic is, who's actually buying the product, because you have the ideas of who you're marketing to, right? You have the absolute idea. And then you'll have, when you do the deep analysis, you realize you were off by like 15 years in an age demographic. Who's actually buying it. And these tools, they're pretty cool. They give you the real-time feedback, like totally adjust. I was just chatting. There's a company out of the EU called Dalton that does real-time on your direct-to-consumer site, A/B testing. And these companies are using it, and they're finding as it adapts, it slowly adapts and identifies an exact target market and hyper-tunes for it. And these companies are like, wait, we didn't even know that's our actual target. And then sales go through the roof. It's AI. I mean, kind of looping back to, I guess, the start of the conversation. These AI stuff is really cool. But I think we're a ways away from this state where you could take your brand guidelines, current creative, and feed it into the system. And the system ingests it, creates the content, on-brand content for Meta, right? For TikTok, for Amazon, for Walmart, for your direct-to-consumer site. And it's sending out in real-time A/B testing everything, including the content on your site to optimize for everything. And all you had to do was put the inputs in. Well, that's kind of like a dream state. We're a ways away. We're a ways away.
It's moving fast, but that, like we said up front, that human in the loop is so critical to making sure that it's staying on task, that it's staying on brand, that it doesn't drift, doesn't lose focus. And there's some good tools that are getting better, but we're not there yet.
What are you most excited about as we get to the last couple of minutes here? What are you pumped about? Well, you're in this new role, which is pretty amazing, right? I think it's perfect for you. Like, what are you most pumped about for 2026?
I mean, it's all about the new job at MPG. I've known MPG as a company throughout my career. A lot of former colleagues, a lot of people who used to work with me in prior agencies are there now. And it's just it feels in some ways like coming home. So I'm very excited personally and professionally to be in the new role. We have some amazing clients, and our pipeline of new business has honestly never been stronger. And part of it is the fundamental piece that, particularly for brands that are omnichannel, they're thinking about the business more and more holistically, and they understand that what happens online drives in store, what happens in store drives online, and having one partner that can bridge that gap is more advantageous than having, another pure play e-commerce agency who's might be super good at that one thing, but might not have the full picture. And that's what I've been really excited about. The example of that is TikTok. All right. So complete switch from what we've been talking about. Right. But what everybody's been learning over the last, call it 6 to 12 months, is that TikTok Shop is not about TikTok Shop. It is for some brands if you can get it to go viral. It's kind of the rare thing, but it happens. But what the really big uptick is on Amazon and Walmart. When you post on TikTok, whether it's shoppable content or social content, you see that lift over on your e-commerce sites. So having the capability to have the right content, the right execution, do it across the funnel and have it show up in retail and in your e-commerce sales, it's just a really exciting ecosystem to be working in and not kind of feeling like we're only a piece of the puzzle. And I think that's the future of where you need to go with e-commerce in general, is having more of those capabilities, more consolidated, and really understanding your consumer and what drives them across the funnel, whether it's a 3-minute funnel in ChatGPT or it's a 2-week purchase process or even longer. Understanding how they engage and where to engage at the right time is just more critical than ever.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Danny, thanks so much for your time today. Always a pleasure having you on. Super pumped for you and the new role and MPG and everything you're doing over there. With that, we're going to wrap up this episode of the Digital Deep Dive. Thanks everybody for listening in.
Thank you.